Hi, I'm Marble. Last December, my mom looked me straight in the eye and said, "We all agreed you're not welcome at Christmas." I didn't scream. I didn't beg. I didn't even ask why. I just stopped paying the mortgage on the very house they were celebrating in. But here's the thing. Money wasn't the wound. The real cut was realizing they'd been planning my erasure long before that day. Quietly. Collectively. While I paid the bills, lit the tree, and kept their secrets. You think you'd see something like that coming? Catch a shadow? Hear the whisper? Notice the empty chair? I didn't. Not at first. That morning, I opened my email expecting the usual group chain about who's bringing what dish, who's flying in, which night we'd cram into Mom's living room pretending we hadn't avoided each other all year. The inbox was empty. I felt refreshed. Twice. Then again. Out of habit. Not hope. Still nothing. I told myself maybe they hadn't started planning yet. Maybe they were waiting on something. But in my gut, I already knew. The silence wasn't accidental. It was orchestrated. And what came next proved they'd been writing me out for years, while I was still paying for the set they performed on. Later that afternoon, I opened our shared family drive, the one we used every year for the gift registry, the dinner playlist, and Carlin's ridiculous spreadsheet ranking who brought the most useful dish. The folder was gone. I didn't panic. Didn't text anyone. Not right away. I clicked an old invite link. Access denied. 38 minutes later, Mom finally texted back. "Figured you'd be busy this year. Don't stress about Christmas. No, how are you? No, we missed you last year." Just a line meant to sound caring, but felt like a lock clicking shut. And it wasn't the first time. Last year, I showed up late after a client meeting ran long. Arms full of gifts, a plate of cookies I'd baked at 2 a.m. Not a single person looked up. The dining table was packed, every chair full. I ended up at the kitchen counter with a paper plate and no napkin. Someone mumbled, "Look who finally decided to show." I never even caught who. Didn't matter. They all laughed. That night, I told myself it wasn't intentional. People get stressed. Plans shift. Maybe they just forgot I don't eat pork. Maybe they didn't notice I always brought the deviled eggs no one acknowledged, but everyone finished. But seeing that empty inbox, the missing folder, the text that sounded like a dismissal instead of an invitation, it hit different. This wasn't forgetfulness. It was a group decision. A vote I'd never been invited to join. And the cruelest part? They made it feel like a favor. I should have known then. They weren't just leaving me out this year. They were setting the stage to erase me for good. I opened my budgeting spreadsheet that night. December's mortgage line sitting there like it always did. 1,360 hour 20 ounce. Auto pay. 3 years of that same quiet deduction. They lived in that house. Cooked in that kitchen. Celebrated birthdays. Anniversaries. Even baby showers in the sunroom I'd refinished myself. And not once did anyone think I might want to sit at the table again. I didn't stop the payment that night, but something inside me cracked. Clean and quiet. Like glass under pressure. No text. No social media stalking for clues. Just the steady hum of my apartment and the silence they'd left behind. 5 days later, my phone lit up with a voicemail from Mom. Flat tone. Too polite. Like she was reading someone else's words. "The family talked and we just think it might be easier if you don't come this year. It's nothing personal. We all agreed." We all agreed. Not "I feel," not "it's hard for me." A verdict, not a conversation. I saved it. That night, I checked our old cousin group chat, renamed The Real Ones. My name wasn't in the members list anymore. Another thread, Holiday Hysteria, was gone. Not deleted, moved somewhere I couldn't reach. This wasn't a glitch. It was maintenance. Scrolling through my bank history, I landed on the utilities. Electric, gas, internet, all in my name. Originally, Mom had asked me to help her out when she stopped teaching, just until she caught up. That was 4 birthdays ago. And then the micro twist hit me. I'd signed as a co-borrower on the house, but my name wasn't even on the title. The favor I thought I'd given was a leash I didn't realize was around my own neck. I didn't cry. I didn't pace. I just stared at the screen until my reflection blurred. They hadn't just erased me from Christmas. They'd kept me on the payroll for a life I wasn't allowed to live. And then, one night, proof landed in my inbox. Confirmation that my erasure wasn't an accident. It was policy. It was just after 4 p.m. on a Tuesday when the email came in. Sender: Tamsin, my youngest cousin, the quiet one. Subject line: "I need to show you something." Her message was short. I didn't agree with what they did. I recorded it. Attached was an audio file. I hesitated. My thumb hovered over play. Some part of me still hoped it would be harmless. Awkward jokes, maybe a stray complaint. Something I could shrug off. It wasn't. Carlin's voice came first, clipped and cold. She's cold. Everything she does feels calculated, like she wants applause for being decent. Then Mom, my mother. She's not really family. She's just convenient. Laughter. Actual laughter. Byron's voice followed, smooth and oily. Don't stir the pot. Keep her name on the papers. It's clean. No need to rock the boat. No one objected. No one said, hey, that's out of line. They just moved on. I sat there, phone pressed to my ear, feeling my pulse in my teeth. Convenient. Not daughter. Not sister. A line item on their ledger. The truth didn't knock the wind out of me. It rooted me to the chair. I'd suspected for years that they met without me, edited the narrative in my absence. But hearing it, in their own voices, stripped away the last thread I'd been holding. And here's the thing. I didn't cry. Tears are for shock. This was confirmation. I replayed the clip twice, saved it to 3 separate drives. Then I opened a clean document and began typing. Mortgage payments, 2020 present. Property taxes, paid. Oven repair, March 2021, 6:45. Every number a reminder that my convenience had a cost they'd never shouldered. The audio wasn't just proof of what they thought of me. It was proof of why they'd never let me go. I was an asset, a revenue stream with a heartbeat. And suddenly, all the years of just until we catch up, and you know you're the responsible one, clicked into place. They weren't keeping me close out of love. They were keeping me on payroll. The next move I made wouldn't just cut me out of their holiday. It would pull the plug on the life they'd been living off me for years. 2 nights after I heard that recording, I logged into my bank account and hit pause on the mortgage autopay. 1 click. No ceremony. The money stayed put, quiet in my account, like it had been waiting for me to remember it was mine. Then I opened the utilities. Electric, gas, internet, homeowner's insurance. One by one, I canceled every service, saved the confirmation numbers, forwarded them to a backup inbox. No warnings, no hints, no manifesto. Clean cuts don't need noise. On December 24th, 6:14 p.m., my phone buzzed. A group text I hadn't been part of in weeks. Power just went out mid-potluck. Mom's freaking. Everything's black. I set my soup down and stared at the message. 4 minutes later. Marble, did you do this? I didn't answer. They already knew. Somewhere in that candlelit kitchen, the one I paid to remodel, Carlin was probably shouting, Dolores trying to sound polite to the customer service rep until she realized her name wasn't on the account. I could almost see the flicker of candlelight bouncing off the backsplash I drove across 2 counties to pick out. Hear the shuffle of chairs as guests tried to keep eating in the dark. No power, no Wi-Fi, no heat. And for the first time in years, I wasn't the one fixing it. The next day, I packaged the audio recording, the financial spreadsheet, and every receipt into a neat little folder. Recipient list. Byron's boss at the bank. The charity board director whose article had praised my generous family. A local news editor I'd worked with on a fundraiser. Subject line, exit with receipts. I didn't add accusations. Just dates, amounts, audio. Facts they couldn't edit. By evening, Tamsin texted. They're scrambling. Carlin's accusing me of betrayal. Mom's panicking. Byron's been pulled from his desk. The charity page quietly removed Dolores's name from the host credits. That night, my phone lit up like a fire alarm. Carlin, you're destroying everything Mom built. Dolores, we're still your family. How could you humiliate me like this? I didn't reply. If they wanted someone to keep the lights on, they could try paying their own bill. And the final move I made would close the door they kept me knocking on for years. Permanently. A week later, I walked into the bank with a folder labeled in red. Mortgage transfer. The loan officer asked if I understood what removing my name meant. I understand better than anyone, I said, sliding over the notarized form. 10 minutes later, my signature was on the release. My name, gone from their safety net. No fanfare, no victory music. Just the soft jingle of the door as I stepped into the cold. Back home, I cooked breakfast like it was any other morning. Bacon, toast, eggs over medium. The air in my apartment felt lighter, as if someone had finally cracked a window. Christmas came and went. Snow dusted the streets outside, the kind that muffles sound until all you hear is your own breath. No last-minute calls. No just one dish requests. No guilt wrapped as tradition. Dolores was now writing the mortgage checks herself. Carlene had taken over the property taxes. The house still stood, still hosted birthdays. But my absence lingered like a draft they couldn't find the source of. I didn't post about it, didn't brag. Quiet justice doesn't need an audience. One afternoon, Tamsin stopped by with molasses cookies. We talked about her thesis, the weather, the new coffee shop. Halfway through, she said, "They still don't understand why you left." I smiled. "I didn't leave. I just stopped chasing people who stood still." She nodded. No hug when she left. Didn't need one. Because for the first time in years, I wasn't asking to be seen. I was already visible to myself. If you've ever been the one holding a family together while they made you feel like the problem, hear me. You're not difficult. You're done being diminished. Sometimes stepping away isn't giving up. It's coming home, to yourself. Have you ever walked away from people who made you small? Tell me in the comments. I read everyone. Wherever you're watching from, morning coffee or late night quiet, I'd like to hear your story in the comments. And if this one stayed with you, subscribe to join a community that believes strength isn't silence. It's knowing when to speak.